And we are back with the Striker Tejas. Actually, I am back after such a long time, many weeks out, different reasons. I was in Mexico. We had the launch of the California and the Atlanta coverage for the Striker. Uh, Last week, I don't even remember. Oh, last week was because of the new coverage, I believe. Anyways, we're back. That's what's important. I appreciate you, Edson, hosting for the last few weeks. You did a great job, brother. I'm almost retiring
Thank you.
here. I think it was better with you doing it than myself. But anyways, I will already excuse myself today. I've been awake for almost 20 hours. I just drove back from Atlanta, a 14-hour drive from Atlanta back. We were launching officially the Atlanta United coverage this weekend with Sam Jones up there in Georgia, which was pretty cool. Anyways, let's talk USL. Let's talk Texas USL. Big week for Copa Tejas. A big chance on this weekend that San Antonio lifts the trophy, but it's still up for grabs for everybody, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. But well, I get off the podcast for a few weeks, and what an awkward weekend we had this past weekend. But before we talk about the results and the games, just our usual go around the table here, around the room. Jonathan in San Antonio, how are you, my friend?
Doing all right. I survived a couple weeks of covering for John Arnold on the FC Dallas beat, and just when I think it's going to be a more leisurely week, I already got a few stories piling up, and I've got to navigate around going to the Man City game in Houston on Wednesday. So
I was
it
gonna say that your exciting game, exciting day, for a week for you. You had a couple of travels, right? Dallas this past weekend, Houston tomorrow, and then El Paso on the weekend. Busy week for you also, huh?
yeah, I was thinking about that, and it's funny because it's going to be. I want to see how many miles it is in total, but it's funny because it's all still technically in Texas.
That's it, man. That's it. It's funny. I was saying I drove 1,900 miles, 1970, if I'm not mistaken, in 4 days going back and forth to Atlanta. But the funny thing is that today coming back was a 13 hours and a half drive. Was still 6 hours to get home. I was getting into Texas, so I had 6 hours of drive inside Texas and the other 6-7 hours in 4 other states, which is pretty interesting. But anyways, we want to see that number next week. Let us know how it went. But since we're going to El Paso, let's go to the borderland there. Joe Rodriguez, how are you, brother?
Roberto, good to have you back on the podcast. Edson, Jonathan, it's a pleasure to be back with you guys for another episode of the Striker Tejas in a week that was rather tough for two of the three Texas teams. Excited to get into it and be with you guys again on another podcast, another week, and looking forward to the weekend that is going to come.
Since you talk about two teams losing and I leave, you guys become also optimistic about it. I see those bets 7, 8, 6 points, all of those things, and oh come on, man. I think we should quit on that and find another way, another game because we're losing bad on this game. Anyways, uh, down to McAllen. Uh, Edson, I see you got a new house. The walls are beautiful, but the internet is not as good, man. So we already gonna excuse our fans here. If we lose you, is because you're using the city Wi-Fi. Is that it?
Correct. So basically, since it is Wi-Fi, I usually use a wire connection at my parents' house. But today I had to do some errands here at the house. So by the time I finished, it had to be recording time. So but I was able to get prepared. Can't get the good enough quality that we're used to, but it's just growing pains. Should be better for next week.
Oh man, but your internet not being good is fine, is acceptable. But no hats? How do you do that? How do you come to a podcast without a hat? I don't take that. That's unexcusable, man. But anyways, I'll do my best here. Every time I look at you, I'm gonna be a little bit upset on my end here. But anyways, let's go. Well, let's do this. Let's start with the good results. Because especially because we're going to talk a lot about at the end of the podcast about Copa Tejas and an important game this weekend of San Antonio and El Paso. But, could we say that this was the only normal result over the weekend? 5-0 win at home against Atlanta United, Jonathan?
Well, I know the El Paso result was not normal at all. RGV, I don't know. We can get into that, but yeah, as far as this was, if nothing else, the most normal result. Looking at Atlanta United and the kind of team they were, how many goals they were conceding, you kind of got the sense that they would come to town. SAFC would exploit their mistakes, would at least be able to capitalize on a few chances, did so on a handful. And even after the match, Alan Marcini was talking about, look, there were still other chances that we should have put away. We could have been even more better, even more ruthless. But yeah, it was a comfortable win. It was a great way for SAFC to start the second half of the season, especially coming off a 2-week break. They had a few players coming back. Carter Manley, Jordi Delem was at least on the bench, returning from injury. Again, a great way to start the second half of the season. And it's really strange to see, like, I don't know that SAFC has really stumbled so far, and I don't see where it might happen.
Yeah, and on that note, Jonathan, when I'm looking here at the standings of USL, I got a really strong feeling that all those strong contenders of USL, the usual ones, right, year after year, are kind of struggling a little bit this year, right? Maybe with the exception of Louisville and Tampa Bay on the East Conference, which is they're always strong and they're still strong this year. The West Conference seems to be set to San Antonio FC, right? That's my feeling.
Yeah, especially I don't know what exactly the score is at the moment, but as we're recording, we're in the middle of a San Diego Colorado Springs match. So one way or another, one or both of the teams right behind SAFC are going to lose some points there. At the moment,
So I'm on the striker. We have the USL live scoring there. San Diego is 39th minute. San Diego is winning 2-0 Colorado as we speak. So, again, more and more, like we always talked about, Colorado maybe being the contender this year, and it's they're on the downhill.
yeah, this last month has just completely ruined them. And to be fair, they've had a very busy schedule. I mean, there were times when they'd play they play at really weird days, especially in the middle of summer. I mean, there have been times when it's like Tuesday, Friday, Monday, which no one ever plays on Mondays. I don't know. One or two of those I think were rescheduled games. But anyway, yeah, a month ago I think they were ahead of SAFC, and they've just completely fallen off. And SAFC just raced on past them, and we're now at the point where San Diego is, or I should say, Colorado Springs is closer to the likes of San Diego and El Paso than it is to San Antonio, and San Antonio has a few games in hand now.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think we've been saying this. I think that's the only thing that we have really repeated week after week is how strong SFC has been, and the results are there. I remember in the beginning of the season, I was having a conversation where I was telling Jonathan, don't be so harsh on San Antonio, right? There was a doubt if they were going to be good or not, but we don't even need to have that conversation anymore, right? I think it's a clear situation where they're very strong. So let's go to the second more common result of the weekend, which is the loss of RGV, right? We know the result is kind of common at this point, Edson,
Yes.
but was the game as common as the other ones, which is, defensively poorly and just create chances but can't score?
The same the last couple of matches for RGV. They tend to control the match. They tend to create a lot of opportunities, but they just can't put it in the back of the net. And I think in total they had like 27 shots, and only like 7 of them were on target. The offensive power, it's to me like they're acting like stormtroopers. They can't get a shot on target. Not even to save their lives. And it's sad to say, but it's at this point where you're past halfway of the season, you're still having these issues. It's like something to be done quickly by Coach Cabrera. And there's one thing that kind of stood out for me from the post game press conference. He mentioned we practice crossing, we practice shooting in practices. They score a lot of goals, but for some reason, my players cannot replicate that out on the pitch when it matters the most. You
Oh,
know,
that's his fault.
so
That's his fault. I think it's again Cabrera pushing the responsibility to other people, not to himself.
and not only
I'm
that, and it's like he had something for everybody except for himself. He blamed the players. He blamed obviously he blamed
I want
the
to talk about the
ownership
ownership
group.
one. Yeah. I think the ownership one. I think it's going to be one that we're gonna. I think we should spend a few minutes on it. But going back to the game, let's finish the game and then we go to the ownership. Anything
Sure.
special in the game? Anything that we could have done? No, RGV could have done a little bit better besides scoring.
I asked that question to, and I think one of the things that he mentioned was being able to maintain their concentration all 90 minutes. I mean, the goal came in the first half, but it was off a long distance shot by Morton that was impossible to save by Tyler Derrick. However, the pressure from the defense was poor. They reacted too late to try to close down the spaces. And I want to dare say that I think a lot of these players were too busy complaining to the referee of a supposedly bad throw-in rather than paying attention to what was going on the field. That's where the goal comes in. And it's like, it was mentioned, it's like the problem is like these goal happen because your opponent is taking advantage of RGV's mistakes, but RGV can't do the same thing to their opponents.
Yeah. So uh, let's talk about we have our Slack channel and we went back and forth about this as soon as you posted that on social media. Cabrera
Mhm.
uh, blaming his budget for the results that he's getting, and of course, when he's blaming the budget, he's blaming the ownership of the team. Correct me, Edson, but if I'm saying it wrong, but he said that uh, he couldn't hire the players that he wanted because he didn't have money for that, and that's the kind of team that we have on the field is what we're going to have with the kind of money that we have. Is that more or less what
He
he
didn't
said?
explain. He didn't explicitly say that he didn't get the players that he wanted. He basically just said that we couldn't get top scorers from the USL because the budget doesn't allow for them, and so we have to make do with what they have because that is they could afford. He mentioned the fact that obviously Adolfo Hernandez having 4 years in the freezer or 4 months in the freezer because of documentation issues. Frank Gaviria as well barely coming on into the squad. Pinzon is still waiting for his ITC. And then you also have Frank Lopez coming off of an injury, and then right after the injury, he got sick, and he mentioned that in the press conference. And then he did kind of mention because I asked him if maybe there is some sort of uh, the incompatibility between Adolfo Hernandez and Frank Gaviria with his wingers and not being able to connect correctly, and that's where he brought up we can't we don't have top talent up on top because we can't afford to keep or have top talent. But the way I see it is before we have handed off to Joe is at the end of the day, Coach Cabrera is the sporting director as well. He
Yes,
knows what the budget
yes,
is going to
yes, yes.
be. He knows what the budget is going to be. He is the one that him and Coach
He
Echeverri are
doesn't
the
even
ones
have a president. He
taking
doesn't
care of
even
the
have a
accounting.
president. He doesn't even have a president.
Hmm.
If there is somebody that has freedom in this league, is Cabrera, right? He knows what he signed up for. He knows what he has, what he was gonna have, and nobody has the liberty. He has done everything that he wanted, and the problems are his problems. And again,
My,
uh,
my, my
um,
question, my question, the whole thing is talk about self talk about creating, and the word is escaping me, and I've been listening to you guys talk for the last 2 to 3 minutes. Talk about not jeopardizing, but just pouring.
A self-fulfilling prophecy.
No. You're self-inflicting. You're poisoning your own locker room. How are the forwards
Yes,
that are?
yeah, I was going.
How are the forwards? How
Exactly.
are the forwards on the roster supposed to feel when they hear him say that? I mean, you are causing.
No. There's so many
You're
better things.
self-inflicting
Does it
damage
surprise me,
to your
honestly,
locker
guys?
room.
Yeah, honestly, does it surprise me? No. When he was in Houston, I remember this explicitly. It was a Open Cup game against Minnesota United. They lost at home and got eliminated. At the press conference, Wilmer Cabrera said that a bunch of traffic cones could defend better than his defense did that night.
I think again, it's part of his characteristic, and we just have to accept that he always going to find a reason to blame somebody and not take
I mean,
responsibility himself.
we are
It's
at the end of the day. I mean, we are talking about a soccer, a football head coach that doesn't believe in the philosophy of a 6-point match when the entire world acknowledges it. So, I mean,
well, yeah, but again,
And
that's just one more thing.
I think also fans and fans are getting frustrated. I see it on social media. I've had people reach out to me on social media giving me their thoughts, and they're frustrated, and a lot of people are questioning renewing their season tickets, next season and beyond. And some are even coming into question whether Wilmer Cabrera should continue for a third year, if the team doesn't make it to playoffs, which most of the people believe there's no way they're making playoffs if they keep playing like
Yeah,
this.
I'm on that sense. I was I was going to leave that discussion for the end, but I'll just say I think pretty much is and again we always say that 3-game streak that you win 3 games, you'll jump in this league, but it really doesn't look like RGV can do that. And usually when we say that, a team goes and does that. So hopefully that happens this time also. But anyways, let's move forward, or else we're going to be here for a couple of hours. And Joe, the most unusual results of all, right? If somebody would have told me that an El Paso game was 4-0, I would bet all my money that El Paso had won that game, not lost that game. What happened?
well, you're not taking into consideration the biggest factor for the Locomotive this season. They were playing this game in the state of California, and the state of California has not been friendly to the Locomotives this season. They lost. They lost to Jesus. It's skipping my mind. They lost to San Diego, or excuse me, they lost to Sacramento in the season opener. They lost 3-1. They lost to San Diego 3-2. They lost in the U.S. Open Cup to the Central Valley Fuego 4-1. They tied against Orange
Monterrey,
County
right?
SC 2-2, and then they lose 4-0. So you have a team that's played 5 games in the state of California this season so far, and they've allowed well over a dozen goals in those 5 games. So yeah, just things aren't going. Didn't go El Paso's way at all. Saturday night, when it came to the 4 goals that's who did they play? Oh my God, I'm getting a brain.
Oakland Roots.
Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland. When it comes to the 4 goals that Oakland scored them all in the first half. In the first 40 minutes, the defensive line in each one of those goals, a step slow, a step behind, a step late, and closing off and getting to the ball, and that's when the ball went in. But you would think, well, it was defensive. The defense had an off night, but no, offensively they created 6 shots the entire match, only 1 on target. It was a very easy night for the Oakland goalkeeper, and I mean, simply put, I mean, in a simple analysis, I think a lot of El Paso Locomotive fans, hopefully the players themselves, they could chalk this one up to just a midseason clunker and move forward. In the second
they
half,
have to, right? They're still sitting 5th in the Western Conference. 33 points, 22 games. not necessarily a comfortable situation, right? Because they have a couple more games than some of the other teams, but it's still good compared to what it was in the first 8 rounds of the
First 10
championship,
games of the
right?
season. Yeah, first 10 games of the
Yeah.
season. Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just, their 10 match unbeaten streak ends on Saturday night. I don't think there was anything to be rescued, or, there was any bit of silver lining from the match on Saturday. And, they gotta get over this one quickly, because San Antonio comes on Saturday night, and then the following weekend that big bad team from the Eastern Conference, Louisville, comes into the borderland to play them. So you have two very very big matches. Good measuring stick to see what the Locomotive have for the remainder. Against literally the two best teams in the league right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react. I cannot wait until tomorrow to be able to get access to tomorrow, which is Tuesday morning's training session, to see what the atmosphere is like, to see what the body language of these players are like, because it simply wasn't pretty on Saturday night. But once again, I mean, I would like to think that they could add this up to is just simply put a mid-season clunker, and it's the only clunker hopefully they'll have for the rest of the year.
Yeah, we had one of those in 19 when we went to play Phoenix Rising, and was Phoenix Rising in the regular season, and we just lost 6-0 was the Austin Bolt, and it was one of
Inexplicable,
those
right?
nights. That's it. We went to the locker room that night after the game saying, this is a night to forget. Let's not even discuss what happened today, because it makes no sense. It was an outlier in the whole season, and just forget. Let's look for the next game. And we ended up going back to that same stadium later on the playoff, and we had that amazing 0-0 game that went to PKs, and we had the chance to win. Totally different game, right? So I hopefully the El Paso crew does what you're saying. Just let's forget about this game and move forward, and see how it goes.
Good thing is
Uh,
no real injuries for the Locomotive, and they didn't allow any more goals in the second half. Which is something, I guess that was the only thing I was kind of looking forward to in the second half for the Locomotive, not to allow any more goals, because I know this team under John Hutchinson does have the tendency of still continuing to fight offensively, see if to make something happen, instead of just coming to facts, facing the reality that you're going to lose that game. Just position yourself so that they don't score any more on you, and make it a really humiliating experience for the team. And apparently, that was the case. They didn't allow any more goals in the second half, and like I said, just move forward from here. So I guess that
so
was
so 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 even better. It's a half to forget, not necessarily even a whole game to forget, which is good. It happens. All right. Talking about scary California, RGV is playing San Diego away this weekend. I'm even scared of asking you, Edson, what do you think is going to happen in this game?
So, unlike myself, the players are actually very motivated. And they feel like they've gotten better results on the road than they have at home. So they feel positive going into a match going against San Diego Loyal. San Diego has been playing well. For the most part, these last couple of matches. You are going to be traveling over to California. And of course, you've got this whole situation with your offense, not carbureting at all. Um, but I think it's going to be more the same. I really don't think that you're going to turn this thing or this ship around, from one day to the next, or at least, or from one week to the next, to be specific. The how many we've had so many consecutive games where we've had the same issue. Defensively, you're sound. I gotta give credit to Wilmer Cabrera. That defensively, I think he has formed a process that has given it some stability. Whether you have Whitney Antel or Jesus Vasquez, but offensively, it's still not clicking. And at the end of the day, you need goals. You need to score more goals than the rest. And especially if you're going to keep having those lapses that are costing you goals, And then you don't need just one; you're going to need two. And for the most part, this team hasn't done that. So, and then especially on the road, and then against an environment like Toreto Stadium, it's going to be very difficult for RGV.
But it is a very important game, right? Because if they are able to bring the 3 points from San Diego, which again I think it's very unlikely the way San Diego is playing, the way RGV is playing. But again, it's USL, it can happen. Uh, After that, RGV is hosting Hartford Athletic, which has had a very weak year so far, and maybe it is a chance to grab 6 points, and then have two strong games, very difficult games, which is Sacramento and San Antonio FC, right? So you're on that 4 game streak that you can go, to heaven, or your season can be over in 4 weeks. To be very honest, if wouldn't be surprising if
Mhm.
RGV doesn't make any points on their next 4 games. We wouldn't be totally surprised, but could happen that they get 9 points out of those 4 games, and then they're back alive, and things moving forward. Anyways, just a reminder: as we stand now, before the game that San Diego is playing, as we record this, San Diego is sitting fourth with 34 points in 19 games. It looks like that by the time that this game is over, they're going to be at 37 points, sitting third, 1 point behind Colorado Springs. So they're going to be playing that game against RGV to sit second.
The standings aren't updated as the score is happening. Like,
I don't think
I
so.
mean,
So I know
I don't think so.
I know Google says that they would jump. They jump to 37, so they would be 2
That's it.
points behind.
That's
with
exactly
this
what I'm
current
saying.
Result.
With this current result, they go to 37. They're sitting with 34 points as we speak. If they win, they go to 37,
right?
sitting
Okay.
third, 1 point behind Colorado Springs. And if they beat RGV, they sit most likely second, right? Yes, 2 points.
Correct.
All right, cool. Anyways, let's go to the big game of the week, maybe the big game of the year for the USL Texas teams. As we speak, is San Antonio FC can clinch the Copa Tejas. Just as of now, and Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but as of now, all 3 teams can win this. There are still 3 games in Copa Tejas to be played, and San Antonio plays on 2 of those 3 games. And if San Antonio clinches 2 points out of those games, they take the trophy. So with a win this weekend, or 2 ties, a tie this weekend and a tie in a couple of weeks against RGV, they take the Copa Tejas. In the other hand, if El Paso wins this game, puts a lot of pressure, and everything becomes very surprisingly, I'm missing the word here, but anybody can take,
Chaotic.
right? Chaotic, I think that's a good way. Chaotic.
It'll go down to, I guess, the last round of games, right? Obviously,
That's
with
it.
results
That's
depending.
it. That's it. So I'll start with you, Joe. Can El Paso come back from this? Can they forget this 4-0 and hold San Antonio this weekend?
Oh yeah, most definitely. There's no doubt about it. I believe the Locomotive. I mean, one of the things that they have is they have a lot of players with experience, with a good head on their shoulders, and obviously these are the players that are the team leaders on this team. I'm talking about Richie Ryan. I'm talking about Yuma. I'm talking about Andrew Fox, Sebastian Velasquez. There's no doubt whatsoever, and I think this team. There isn't a training session that I don't go to where somebody says it, even just in passing before the microphones come on and we speak to them on the record, but that, this team believes that it continues to be one of the best teams in the league. And so there's no reason for me to think that they can't get the result, get the win for San Antonio. And I also think that, just playing the percentages, I think one of the things that El Paso's overdue for is El Paso's overdue to get a good quality win against a good opponent, because it hasn't happened in a while for them. So I think the stage sets itself up for this. Obviously I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I have a feeling it's going to be another 1-0 match on Saturday night.
But it is two teams that like to score and allow people to score on them, right? So if I would bet something, I would bet a more exciting game than just 1-0, Joe.
How was the game in San Antonio?
See, you say that you say that San Antonio allows people to score, but they are the best defense in the Western Conference.
No. That's fair. When I said it sounded wrong also. But I mean, it creates exciting games, right? When they lost with many goals also, right?
No. Let's get one thing clear. I say a 1-0 match, but then there's games that are damn exciting games.
I agree.
With a 1-0 match. So I think this game lends itself to that possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to be a 1-0 either way, and that one team's going to get lucky, score, and then defend, and chop the game up with a lot of fouls and just make it an ugly match. Oh no, far from it. I think it's going to be a very intense, very competitive match. I don't think these teams like each other very much. They know each other well.
And it is a final, right? It is a final for Copa Tejas, but it is a final. I know for a fact that El Paso cares about Copa Tejas, right? That's a fact. Andrew Forrest has said that. The team has said that many times, and they celebrated last year.
And I'll tell you what, something with regards to that element, and I will push back tomorrow because I know that's where the conversation is going to go. Somebody's going to ask about Copa Tejas, and John Hutchinson is going to downplay it. And frankly speaking, I'm going to push back on that because he shouldn't downplay it.
I agree. I was very upset last year when Josh Wolf was doing that. Josh Wolf with the Copa Tejas MLS, he was downplaying it, saying it was not important. And it was very cool this week to see last week the team, Austin FC players saying, "Hey, this is important. We want to win this." And that makes a difference. And we saw El Paso doing that last year. They were really cared. They showed that they cared about the Copa Tejas.
Yeah, but Mark Lowry, Roberto, was a lot more blatant in saying we want to win competitions. I don't care if it's a best out of 2-3 series. We want to win it against every team. If there's a competition, if there's hardware, we want to win. And Mark Lowry was more blatant to that. John Hutchinson is the, and they mentioned it. It was funny. They mentioned it on the telecast on Saturday night for the Oakland Roots match, how he was saying, we just want to take it a game at a time. We take all of our, we focus a game at a time. We look at all of our opponents equally. We focus on what we do and stuff like that. And they called them cliche. They called them cliche. And I was like, you don't know the half of it. I mean, that's the way it is. I just really hope that tomorrow during the presser or over the course of the week, whoever he talks to, he's a little bit more declarative about the fact that if El Paso loses,
I'm happy that you're going to be there, and I'm happy.
It's going to feel pretty crappy to watch San Antonio raise the trophy at Southwest University Park.
That's it. I'm happy that you're going to be there tomorrow at the training session. I'm happy that you're going to push back if that's the position, because people should care about Copa Tejas, right? There's so many. It's so hard to win the USL Championship overall, that an opportunity for the teams to lift a trophy like that. And again, I always say this, guys. I know you guys are tired of listening that I won the first ever Copa Tejas with the Austin boat, and that was freaking important for us. It was important before we got it. It was important after we got it, and it's still important to this day where I bother you guys talking about it, and hopefully they can. I know Andrew Forrest cares about it. I know the ownership cares about it, and I know many of the players care about. So hopefully they do that. But what about San Antonio? And Copa Tejas was born in San Antonio, right? Where the supporters group was the first one to bring that up, and through a group of dedicated people down there in San Antonio. Does the team care about Copa Tejas? I did ask this to Tim Holt last year, and he was very, how can I say, adamant about how important for him was Copa Tejas. does Marcina and the team understand the importance of this trophy?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because SAFC, I think I've scolded them a few times about this in the past. They love to give those cliche answers, but the players, Alan Marcina, they have at least acknowledged that, well, yeah, these games are a little more important. I remember Mitchell Tainer saying it's a little extra special to win against your rival earlier this season when it was against RGV. And I think it might go even up another level this weekend because if they win, they get a trophy, the first trophy in franchise history.
Yes.
Now, I will say, this we said earlier, this might be the biggest game of the season. SAFC will hope that this is not the biggest game of their season. The way they're playing, they want to be playing in bigger games in
Well,
October,
let me
November.
fix the biggest game of the season so far, right? Maybe that's how I should
Fair enough, yeah.
I should have posted, right? But cool. So you think that the team cares about it as much as Team Holt cares?
Yeah, even if they won't be too forward about it, again, there's a chance to get a trophy in their hands this weekend, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll want to use that as a stepping stone. Something else, we probably don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I will say, we were talking about El Paso needing to just completely forget what happened last weekend, and I think that's what SAFC will hope that they do. Just kind of cast it away, don't worry about it, rather than dwelling on that 4-0 result and saying, okay, no, we need to make things right, and sort of letting that result light a fire
Fair
under them.
point.
I think it's
Fair
better
point.
that they just set it aside because they're not going to have that fire, that drive this weekend.
Fair point. Let's see again. Joe is going to bring all the on his preview of the game or some articles that he might do this week and on our social media that we're going to be talking about it. So let's see how that feel is going to be on the training session tomorrow, and then we're going to figure that out. But anyways, guys, I think we're already on 40 minutes beyond what is ideal for our Copa Tejas of our Striker Tejas podcast. Anything else that we're missing that we should talk about? Otherwise, any final words, Jonathan?
None that I can think of.
I guess
All
just
right.
predictions.
I'm going to go to the predictions. Yes. Jonathan, good to have you back. Congratulations, for the coverage that you did for FC Dallas. It was top notch, very good. And that's part of what we want also from the striker is also to help, not just to see the game grow, but also see you guys as journalists, as reporters, as beat writers growing, and the coverage that you did over this past few weeks is top notch. So thank you very much for all your time and dedication on that. Predictions for this week. Remember, guys, we can only have a max of 6 points this weekend, right? Because we have a game between the two Texas teams. I'll start with, I think we're going to see 3 points on this weekend. I think two of the Texas teams are going to have losses this week. Jonathan.
I'm also going to go with 3, and it provides some nice flexibility because if we get a draw on Saturday between El Paso and SAFC, all the Toros need to do is get a point, which
that's
you never
true.
know.
That's
Maybe
true.
something
I didn't think about that.
switches for them and they figure it out.
It's a good hedge, like they say on the financial market. Who goes first, Edson or Jonathan or Joe?
Go ahead, Edson.
2.
All right. And you, Joe?
Yay, I get to be unique and without. That's what I originally wanted, was 4 points.
4 points. All right. Sounds good, guys. I don't think we're gonna. I think the chances that we get that somebody gets it right this week, it's big. If we don't, we're in trouble. But anyways,
6 points incoming.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you very much. Please remember to subscribe, follow us on social media. Like you was said last week in the podcast, we have added California coverage. We have added, Atlanta coverage, Georgia coverage. all of that with the same price that you already paid before, which was very cheap. So make sure that you subscribe, follow us on social media, and always support local soccer.